welcome to the Everyone's a Critic movie review podcast. I'm your co-host, Bob Zerl. With me, as always, is professional film critic Sean Patrick. Visit us at IHateCritics.net, Everyone's a Critic Podcast.com. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Our handle there is CriticsPod. Listen to us at Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Alexa, all your podcatchers. If you rate and review the show, we do have a giveaway, which you can check out on our social media sites. Sean, tell me a little bit about the giveaway.
Just a couple of Blu-rays, a couple of weird titles out of Asia that not many people have heard of, but that you can have in your collection that nobody else has.
So if you rate and review the show, give us a 5-star review, then let us know you did it, and we'll read it on the air, and we'll get those copies to you. Patreon.com/criticspod, the best way to help support the podcast, and then TeePublic, IHateCritics.net. If you go to the TeePublic page up in the right-hand corner, you can buy some of our merch. Our Batman vs. Jesus, the Willem Dafoe, this curiously large penis, the Cameron Diaz's shoulder, our logo, Lord of the Fitbit, all of our merch is there.
What does it say about us subconsciously that when we think of Willem Dafoe's penis, it's stuck like a fork?
I blame Cousin Jeff for that one. It was apparently it was similar to a logo he saw where he was living at the time or had lived at one point, and it inspired his design. We weren't even going to do the shirt. He made it and said, "Hey, look at this. What do you think?" And I was like, "That's
so this
amazing."
is a psychological insight into Jeff, then. Okay.
But it's an amazing shirt. It's one of my favorites. I don't wear it in public, but I wear it on the show on occasion. We are on YouTube Live. I do send out a link to our social media pages when we do go live. So if you want to listen, check us out there. I keep trying to give you a time, but it's been random the last few weeks, so we'll see.
No more random than this.
Yeah, this is as random as it gets. Midday on a Monday, holidays. It'll do that to you.
Yeah.
But, let's go ahead and get the show started, and we will start. Oh, come on, cursor, where'd you go? There we go. We will start with Zola.
Zola is a movie based off of a Twitter feed. A woman who was a dancer was traveling with another dancer, and she started this thread on Twitter telling people this crazy, stupid, ridiculous story about what was going on. All she wanted to do was just go down and make some money, working at a strip club. And she ends up with this woman who's just, and her boyfriend is there, and also her pimp. Maybe depends on the definition. He's definitely seems like a pimp. There are pimp surroundings, but nobody ever calls him a pimp. He's played by Coleman Domingo, who's one of my favorite supporting actors. Is one of the best supporting players in the world today, and he's got a lot of funny moments in this. The star of the movie is a woman named now her name is escaping me, but her last name is Taylor, I believe, and she's just I've never seen her anything before. She's amazing, just so self-possessed and so brilliant and so deadpan, and she's really allowing the comedy of this to just sort of play across her face and just how ridiculous it all is, and that's really the proper approach to this, is because it's an insane sort of situation that is unfolding before her, and very specific at the same time. I don't want to go into too much of what happens. If you read the Twitter feed, you know what happens, but if you haven't read through that and you don't know the whole story, then I don't want to spoil it for people who are going to, learn a few things along the way that are really weird and interesting. There's really there's no death or anything really, but there's a lot of surreality and nothing you can't believe in. Like, there's nothing supernatural about it. It's just this weird situation that this woman is in and how she regards it. And that is an interesting approach to a movie, is just trying to they're adapting essentially a perspective, a point of view. They're just and trying to capture this very unique wit that this woman has about this very unusual situation she finds herself in. And she's just an incredible actress. And the direction is really strong on top of that. Then we've got Riley Keough, who's really living into this role of this bizarre creature that she is. I don't really know how to describe her because she's just I'm not going to insult the woman. I don't have anything insulting to say. It's just that she knows who she is. She knows what she likes to do, and she does it. And maybe there's more to it than that in terms of the depth of her psychology, but we're not necessarily going into that. We're just sort of meeting her in a way that is just very unusual.
So I haven't read the Twitter feed, and quite frankly, until I found out, printed this picture out and saw A24 at the bottom, I was like, God damn it. Did not know it was behind A24 was behind it.
This is an A24 movie, all right.
Is this a true story?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes,
yeah.
I mean, if you believe what she says, then yes, it's entirely subjective to her perspective. But that's the thing, is that they aren't even adapting it like a story, really. They're adapting a perspective. They're adapting a personality, essentially, to the screen. And that's such a unique challenge that they pulled off incredibly well.
That's awesome. And it's only in theaters right now? That's amazing.
Yeah, it's only in theaters right now. And I was really excited to get a chance to see it. I couldn't wait. I thought you knew it was A24. I didn't know.
I've been so busy. I'm sure I have at one point. I mean, I had heard about this in the Twitter feed, and then I heard about it. Then I moved on, and then it popped up here and there, but it wasn't enough that I remembered it. And I mean, what's exciting to me is I did a podcast with this guy named Metal Bob. He has a separate podcast. We're kind of going to co-brand. He's going to run the episode on his feed. We'll run it on ours. It'll probably come out this Friday. But in it, I talk about how what I miss more than like a Marvel movie in the theater is movies like this. It's the A24 type movies. Those are what I need to see in theaters. Not that I need to, but I really liked seeing them in theaters. Granted, the weekend I'm available. That makes a difference too. The in-laws don't come into town every weekend, and when they do, I don't get to go to the theater. But this one it just sounds neat. I mean, you haven't even said if it's good or not. You just kind of talking, and I'm intrigued. The poster is intriguing. The A24 link is intriguing. Everything about it is just so A24 that I'm in, and I want to see it really bad.
This is the best social media internet movie outside of maybe obviously The Social Network. Like, it's so good at adapting what social media is and how people represent themselves, and the uniqueness of that is. I learned a lot.
So does Twitter play a role in this?
No, well, a little bit. The Twitter sound effect is used in a way that's very interesting, because at a certain point she'll say something, and then you'll hear the little Twitter sound effect go off, and it's just like it's kind of telling you she just said this on Twitter, this exact thing, because the way she narrated the story on Twitter is she's telling you a story.
That's fantastic. Yeah,
so specific. I mean, the way that they adapted this woman's voice, and then on top of just adapting her voice, they captured what was so riveting about the Twitter feed. But also then they create a movie around that with really interesting and intriguing and weird characters.
That is awesome. I can't wait to see this movie. I
honestly think it'll be one of those top 10 movies for you, I think, if you see it.
Yeah, I was just
not that it's not on mine. It's up there on mine, but I saw something else that is kind of pushing this one aside for me this week.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, it's a good week.
All right, well, let's just move on to the next one. The God Committee.
Well, it's not this one.
I was going to say.
Although, again, there's my guy, Coleman Domingo. He's incredible. This movie is awful. This movie is borderline unwatchable at times. The God Committee is a movie about doctors who are on a transplant committee, and they have to make the decision of who's going to get a heart in a heart transplant. Kelsey Grammer is the super genius heart surgeon. Julia Stiles is the up and coming heart surgeon. Janine Garofalo is the boss of both of them. And Coleman Domingo plays a lawyer who's representing kind of the hospital, but also kind of the interests of this super rich guy played by Dan Hedaya, whose son is one of the 3 people who could get this heart that's available. And cynically, you kind of know where that's going, like, because the movie is very cynical, so, and it has a very cynical perspective from the very beginning. So you know that from that cynicism that it's probably going to be the rich guy's son who gets the heart, regardless of the story that they're telling. So then it has to be about filling in between there. And this movie doesn't fill in between there very well. There's a line in this movie that I'm big on lines that break the fourth wall. Like, I wrote this whole lengthy essay about that line from Venom, like a turd in the wind. Like, that line for me broke the fourth wall, and it broke the movie for me, because I didn't care about anything else. I just kept hearing that line in my head, like a bad riff in a song. Like, it just ruined the whole thing. And in this movie, Kelsey Grammer actually has a line, and he's actually got like 3 of them, but this one is the one that stands out. He's talking to Julia Stiles, and he says, your problem is you fail to recognize that the heart is just a muscle. And I just about vomited. I just about vomited upon hearing it. In fairness,
if you had, I mean, just him on the cover breaks the fourth wall. I mean, everybody else in this movie, if you would put anybody else in it, I would have been like, oh, there's a shot it could be good. The fact that he's front and center, no offense to him, he's a TV star. Right. Frasier and Cheers are amazing shows, but just him as the lead in this movie. Everybody else, I like Coleman Domingo, like you said. Julia Stiles is fine. Janine Garofalo, love her. But the fact that he's front and center is breaking the fourth wall.
And he's banging Julia Stiles.
Don't ruin Julia Stiles for me.
In the movie.
And the reason I say that is,
I just don't buy that. I don't buy that for a second that she has any remote sexual interest in him.
Right. And the only reason that I say that, I'm not trying to be misogynistic. It's just she doesn't choose movies a lot. She's been avoiding movies, and then she picks this one. Makes me a little, I don't know, that bums me out a little bit. There are ideas here. Like, there's a big idea at the center here about the ethics of hospitals and the way we fund hospitals, and that's an interesting aspect. But this movie also has this weird thing where it's telling 2 different time frame stories. So it's telling us this story about this particular heart transplant, but it's also telling a story 10 years down the road, after everything has happened, and the somewhat fallout of that. And here's the thing, like, they portray Kelsey Grammer's character like he is this big, arrogant, big-headed, heartless guy who he's all science, and then he's portrayed as the hero fighting for ethics, and it's like you're picking the wrong hero here. And it's such a turn, because you think he's the one who's just going to go, well, we need the money, so we'll just give it to the rich guy's son. That's the role that he's supposed to play here. And I get that maybe they're trying to twist convention by not having him be that, but you cast the wrong guy then, because look at him, he looks like a villain. That stupid hairpiece, he looks like a fucking villain. Anytime he puts a dumb hairpiece on, like, Kelsey, we've seen you've been on television for 40 years, dude. Like, we know what you look like. Stop. Like, this is embarrassing. He takes this off, of course, the 10 years down the road, but yeah, I mean, you almost need and we'll get to him later, but like a Steven Soderbergh or a Tarantino directing a movie like this with Kelsey Grammer in it for Kelsey Grammer to work. You can't have there's only a handful of directors that can really make you forget that Frasier's in your movie. You know what I'm saying? And it's not fair, but it's a reality. And
there's this really, like, Janine Garofalo's character isn't on screen enough to make enough of an impact that they have this twist regarding her character, and it's like, she's barely a character in the movie. How's this? How am I supposed to buy into this big moment where she's being confronted about something, and she's barely a character in the movie? He's been the main character the whole time. He should have this burden on him. That's where the burden should go. All the pieces are in the wrong place. Coleman Domingo's character is played off at first like he's advocating for them to take the money, but he's not. He's also a lawyer who's also a priest for some reason, which is never explained.
It never happens.
Nevertheless, this never explained. But he's like, at one point you think he's kind of a villainous character, but then he's also like not a villain. It's bizarre. This movie makes no sense.
Yeah, it does sound like a neat idea.
But Bob, just remember, you fail because you fail to recognize that the heart is just a muscle. I mean, credit him for being able to say that without giggling, because I can't.
All right, let's move on to another movie that takes place both in the present day and in the future, The Tomorrow War.
The Tomorrow War stars Chris Pratt and Yvonne Strahovski and Betty Gilpin from The Hunt. And the story goes that there's a war happening like 30 years in the future, and they've figured out time travel. And so the people of Earth 2050 come back in time to 2020, and they're like, hey, all these alien fuckers are killing us. We need your help. You need to come forward and bring all your best warriors to help us fight this future war to save humanity. And they start drafting people who are going to be dead before 2050, so they won't run into their future selves, I guess. And eventually, Chris Pratt is among those who gets drafted. He's a school teacher, but he's also a former Iraq War veteran. He's also like a scientist on top of that to combine all these dumb elements together into one character. And then they just enact a bunch of action movie alien cliches until ad infinitum, and then the movie ends. And I didn't care. It's long. I like Chris Pratt, but he's not likable enough in this movie or believable enough in this role for me to care enough to want to watch this movie.
Yeah, it's fine for the audience that doesn't listen to our podcast or movie buffs. I mean, and that's what they're going for. It left me wanting, being a fan of Glow and a little bit of was it Nurse Jackie, and then The Hunt is like,
right.
I'd love to see Betty Gilpin in this, or let her be the star. She doesn't really gotten that chance too much, and I know she can do it because The Hunt's freaking amazing. And if you don't like The Hunt, she's still really good in it.
Yeah.
And not that Chris Pratt's bad, but he gets to do everything all the time. I mean, he's got Jurassic Park, he's got the Guardians of the Galaxy, and this, not that I want Betty Gilpin wasted in this movie, don't get me wrong, but it left me wanting that. And then I'm sitting here thinking, like, about how this movie kind of cops out the whole time. Yeah, something happens that seems somewhat dramatic, but he can go back and fix it because you're dealing with time travel. Right. And in a way, this movie has no balls whatsoever, for lack of a better phrase, because it's safe. It's a typical 80s movie, or action movie, not 80s movie. J.K. Simmons is probably the best thing in it, I guess.
Jacked J.K. Simmons, jeez. Yeah.
But I mean, it's definitely stupid, but it works for what it's going for. But I mean, even if you look back at like a movie like Armageddon, at least they have the balls to kill off a main character. You know what I'm saying? Not that you needed that here.
I would watch this before I watch Armageddon again if you put a gun to my head.
But movies didn't necessarily do that a lot back then, and I don't know. Again, this works for for the audience is going for, but it's not. Like my son would probably like it.
It's not a good movie. The aliens are dumb looking and look like aliens in every other stupid movie, and yeah. Hey, I wonder if anybody can guess who Yvonne Strahovski is.
They don't even. They don't spend much time. I don't know.
It seemed to surprise him, but it was not a surprise to anybody else, I don't think.
No, and it just like the way it was delivered. Yes, he was surprised, but it wasn't like, oh my God, here's the big moment in the movie. It just kind of happens, and that's kind of a moment somewhat lost.
Hey, your name's Forrester? My name's Forrester. Wait a minute.
You would have thought he would have gotten there faster than we did. So yeah, I mean, it is what it is.
It's sad because he's trying not to be he's trying not to be Ryan Reynolds. He's trying not to be, Chris Pratt in every movie. I understand the desire, but you got to pick better. Like Ryan Reynolds picked Buried. He picked that movie where he's a serial killer. Like he's made better choices.
He's picked a lot of movies though that
the Hitman's movies. Yeah, those.
Well, I'm not even talking about those. Those work for what they're going for too. It's like Amityville Horror and there's a couple other romantic comedies that he's done, and he's definitely
Maybe's a really good movie though.
I mean, he's gotten some right. And Chris Pratt's just been a blockbuster guy in Parks and Rec, so this really not. This is definitely probably the worst thing of all the main things that he's done that I can think of in terms of the mainstream stuff.
Yeah, because I kind of like the Jurassic Park movies.
Oh yeah, I think those are fine for what they are as well. All right, let's move on and talk about Summer of Soul, or When the Revolution Could Not Be Televised. Questlove.
Summer of Soul, put together by Questlove of The Roots, takes us back to 1969 in the summer in Harlem, New York, where there were a series of concerts called the Harlem Cultural Festival. They happened over a 5-week period, I believe, where just every weekend they brought in a bunch of incredible artists, and they filled this park with 30,000 to 50,000 people every week, to the point where they estimate that maybe 300,000 people passed through this park and saw these shows, and that is incredible fun. But what moves me so deeply, and why I think this is so brilliant, isn't just the music. It is the way that Questlove and the people behind this who put this together are bringing back a memory for people, that this very basic, very human feeling of recognition, of sensing another person's humanity. There's a guy who's interviewed in the movie his name is Musa Jackson, and he was there at several, if not all of these concerts back in '69. And then for the past, 51 years, these tapes have been gone. Nobody's seen them. And you watch him watch these things to have him, and you're watching this glee bubble up within him over seeing this again, and him having, recovering these memories that he had. And it's so human and so beautiful. So human and so beautiful. It just reminds you of something that I think all of us can relate to, because it happens to every one of us, where something, whether it's a movie, a book, a picture, anything can do it, can trigger a memory that is one that maybe you forgot, and there it is again. You pick up an old photo of somebody you haven't seen in years, and it brings back those memories and that gleeful moment. And that is compassion. That is a basic human experience that everybody shares, and it really reduces humanity down to its very essence for just that moment, where everybody feels that, regardless. You can be black, white, whoever. Everybody's had that, and that shared experience to me is so incredibly moving. That as amazing as the music is, I was focused on that. There's that, and then he does it again with Marilyn McCoo and Billy Davis, who were part of the Fifth Dimension, and they get to watch themselves perform from back in '69, and they're got tears in their eyes remembering it and recalling stories, and it's beautiful. And I know other things have done that, but this one for some reason felt just a little bit different, because it's got that soundtrack with it, but it's also just that wonderful humanity that he captures here is just so beautiful. And I just, this is one of the best things I've seen in years. It's one of the best movies of the year. It's just an incredibly moving documentary.
Clearly, Questlove doesn't know that the heart is just a muscle. No, it's funny you mention that, because that's something I've always talked about just in conversation. Is there's no, they say money can't buy happiness, and throw that out. It's not that. It's everybody can still reach the same level of happiness in a certain moment. And whether you have money or not, it's when you're having a great time, you're having a great time no matter what the scenario. And that's something that's really important to remember, especially when you're feeling down, is that you can still achieve that level of happiness, and that anybody, that anybody can achieve, whether you're on your things like to go on an African safari that costs you $100,000, or if you just want to sit around in your trailer park and drink Busch Light and have a great time. No matter what, you're probably the same level of happiness. You know what I'm saying? And everywhere in between there, you can. Yeah. Everybody can get there. It doesn't matter what, you know. And I'm glad this movie captures. I have not seen this. I want to see it really bad. I know it's on Hulu, right? I just simply ran out of time because I have people visiting me this weekend. And I felt it was more important to see the Tomorrow War, just because it's a bigger movie.
Right.
But this one I would have rather seen. I will definitely see it because this is right up my alley. I love music and I love movies about humanity. I love documentaries like this. Yeah. It just looks phenomenal. I can't wait to finally watch it.
There's this wonderful stylistic choice that he makes where when he's interviewing these people, you can see in their eyes the flickering of the video of the movie that they're watching this footage. Neat. And it's just so like because their eyes are watering a little, you know, they're getting welling up and you can see it playing across their face and the realization and and all coming rushing forward from the back of their mind, and it's just beautiful.
And the cool thing about that is it was probably an accident because you can't fake that. Yeah, that the emotion. You can't be, oh shoot, let me do this so I can get the reflection in your eyes. You can't do that. You know, you have to catch it in the moment, and they clearly did, and that's amazing. I can't wait to see this.
And of course, Nina Simone performs in this, and it is ferocious. It is ferocious. I loved it.
Yeah, definitely check this out on Hulu if you get a chance.
Oh yeah.
And then No Sudden Move, the new Steven Soderbergh movie on HBO Max.
Yes, No Sudden Move stars Don Cheadle and Benicio del Toro as completely unrelated, unknown to each other criminals who get hired for the same job. They're going to be working together to babysit the family of David Harbour, who is being blackmailed into stealing a piece of information that is being kept at the company where he works. So they're sitting with his family. Essentially, they're with them there with guns is going to force him to go do the job. Then it becomes a series of double crosses and double crosses on top of double crosses on top of double crosses until, for me, it just became too much. Not that I couldn't follow it. I was following it, but I also wasn't investing in any of these characters. It's an incredibly cynical movie in that way, and they're all bad people, and I get it because this is a criminal world. And the real point of it, I guess, is that he wants to tell this very true story about how car companies tried to hide the catalytic converter. They were trying to hide what the car was doing to the environment, and how this invention could cost them a great deal of money, but also because they would be required to put it in every car, and they were trying to hide that. That's the essence of what's at the point. I don't know if I'm spoiling. I don't think I'm spoiling anything.
Well, they treated it like it was a freaking suitcase in Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, because they're not really telling you what it is. I mean, they are telling you at the end.
Yeah.
It's like a dollop with no laughs to me. That's it really is like there's no absurdity. There's no fun. There's nothing funny happening. Nobody's commenting on this and giving you the jokes that you're desperate to see. And there should be. It feels like there should be something funny about this, and nothing funny happens. And all it is just this series of machinations of things that happen, of this person double crossing this person, and I don't think anything in it is particularly clever. I think Don Cheadle and Benicio del Toro are incredible actors, and I buy into what they're doing. But I didn't care. I wasn't invested in any way.
Yeah, sadly this would have been better done by like Adam McKay. You know, not that he's a better director than Steven Soderbergh. I mean, this is just, it plays more like homework, similar to. I mean, I don't want Traffic's better, but it's also a movie I don't really care to ever watch again.
Right.
I don't, it was good the first time. I mean, at least Aaron Brockovich is somewhat entertaining, I guess.
Yeah, like she's really charismatic and
right. But I just
heroic.
And looking through when we were when we were flirting with the idea of doing a Soderbergh movie, I didn't really want to do any of them because in some ways he's a lot of homework on his filmography that's not necessarily great. And even looking at the reviews, he's definitely not. I know I mentioned he directed The God Committee, it'd be better than it was. And I say that because Brendan Fraser was believable in the role. I wasn't distracted like I would be if a lesser director had done it. But that's where it began and ended with me. There's nothing wrong with this movie other than it's not that, like, it's just hard to stay invested is really what's the biggest problem with the movie. There's not an intensity to it, and there's not an entertainment level to it. It's just a straight-ahead movie with too much going on to the point where you stop. You almost have to be so interested in the subject matter, and therefore it becomes homework again. So I hate to call it bad because the performances are great, but it's just I definitely had to keep turning it off and coming back to it because I just didn't care.
There's no wit. I wanted some wit of some sort. There's no wit. There's nothing. There's nothing to really grab onto and invest in. That's because they're all shitty people and there's no heroes. And I get this story doesn't really have any heroes, but then you have to tell the story differently.
Well, right. And if you're not going to have, but I mean, The Godfather didn't have any heroes. So they made Michael. They just kind of followed him around. Whatever, all these movies that don't have heroes, they at least picked a character to follow. And the other things going on. And they don't, I guess Don Cheadle's the closest thing to that in this, but they leave him for long periods of time. So he's not Michael Corleone in this. It's not, even Scarface follows, Tony Montana around. This doesn't have that character. Yeah,
and Don Cheadle's just so remote. Like he's not that he's not charismatic. He is, but it's just he's so distanced. He's so focused on what he's doing that he's not inviting you to be at his side. Benicio del Toro is not an actor that really has ever invited you to be on his side, and so you're just kind of unmoored. And that can be a fun experience if you're in the right movie. Like I don't know. Pulp Fiction doesn't have a hero, but you're invested because of the rhythm and the excitement and the strangeness of the story. You're invested in that.
And all of that, there is no rhythm, there's no excitement, there's no strangeness. No. It's just literally telling you a story, and then you just get distracted by Ray Liotta and Matt Damon popping up in it. It's not that, again, nothing's wrong with it. It's like a textbook with a lot of twists and. So you got some of the greatest actors reading this textbook, and it's probably better than it should be if anybody else did it, this way. But it's not. To me, it's gonna be forgotten.
I would probably hate this if it were another director.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't know what other critics are seeing in this. That's what. I was looking at Rotten Tomatoes. It's getting really great reviews, and I think it's at a certain point. It's just, oh look, Soderbergh. Positive review.
Well, there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, it's good direction. It's great acting. The story's it's informative. It's well put together. It's just not entertaining. So that's
it'd be better. It would be better as a documentary.
It'd be better as a documentary or one of those Adam McKay weird. If you did like The Big Short or something like that in this tone, or no, this in The Big Short tone. Something like that would work better. Or somehow you did, like you mentioned Pulp Fiction, if you somehow added that rhythm, gave it something, a little bit of life to make it more entertaining. I don't know. I'll never go back to this. I'll probably never talk about it again, and I'll probably forget about it by the end of the episode.
There was a documentary a few years ago about this art heist, and they never recovered the painting. And they're telling the story of how they think the heist went, and it's just this. It's a really great heist movie, and all it is just people telling you the story of the people who were involved at the moment and the artist, and it's really great. It's got a great rhythm to it, and a level of absurdity to it, and yet it's just basically telling you a true story. And I mean, if that guy, I wish I could remember off the top of my head what that documentary was, but. If that guy were telling this story, I'd probably be riveted.
Right. This was, in some ways, too much up its own ass in a lot.
Yeah.
And that's what happens when you're good, I guess, sometimes. All right, let's move on to our classic, Speed.
Completely random choice. We were just talking about it last week, and
Would have been perfect for next week's show. 9 sites. But anyway, I'm glad we watched it.
Yeah, I really love this movie. It's a really well made action movie. It's really clever, and Keanu Reeves plays an LAPD bomb squad guy who's partnered with Jeff Daniels, and they come across a bomber played by Dennis Hopper, who has, at first, he's rigged this elevator to blow, and he's trying to hold that for ransom, and they manage to foil that, but then he sets his eyes on Keanu Reeves' character and decides that he's going to challenge him directly, and by putting this bomb on this bus, and if the bus goes below 50, the bus will explode. And then there are all sorts of people on the bus who complicate things in various different ways. Sandra Bullock ends up driving the bus. Keanu Reeves gets himself on the bus, and somehow they end up on a freeway that's not finished, and they jump a bus across a 50-foot space. It's ridiculous in many ways, but it's ridiculous in the great ways that movies of the 90s were kind of ridiculous. And I don't know if we could do this type of earnest action anymore. Like the Future War is kind of an earnest action movie in its way, and you just don't buy it. Whereas this movie is incredibly earnest in its way, and you completely buy it.
And I think part of it too is though they create an intensity that they never let up on, and so you're on the edge of your seat, not realizing you're not questioning things you should be questioning because it's so intense. I mean, having seen it so many times, watching it again, it was just like, well, there's no way you're going 50 miles an hour on the shoulder there. You know, stuff that, you know, obviously the jumping the bridge.
Right.
But in the moment when I was watching it throughout the, 94, 95, when I was watching it over and over again, because I loved this movie as a kid, it just had me the whole time that I didn't have time to question anything. Yeah. And other than, they made you believe they could jump that bridge. They made you believe everything that happened in that movie. And I appreciate that about this. You're right. It would take a lot today with, as cynical as we are now that our generation's more grown up, and we're definitely more the cynical generation. We're definitely more it would take a lot more to make it work.
I would be. This is one of those movies I'd be scared to show a young person. They'd be like, "That's dumb. That bus isn't going to go that fast."
Yeah,
poking holes in it.
I'm curious. Like, I feel like, my son's probably too young to be that person to poke holes in it. But I think if he watched it now, which he didn't watch with me, I was planning on it, but I just ran out of time. I watched it alone. If he had watched, I think it would grab him in enough. But yeah, my daughter, a teenager right now, that's where, I don't know. But this is so much. I totally understand why Sandra Bullock became a star after this. She's runs so this movie.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Effortless star power in her. And she makes him better. Like, I really honestly feel like that dynamic between the two of them made him better. Because prior to this, he was not an actor that I really enjoyed watching. Even in the Bill and Ted movies, I kind of liked the persona of the Bill and Ted thing, but anything else he did, he was very bland to me. And here he gets a little bit of color because she's giving him color. She's drawing him out and making him a little bit lighter and more dynamic. And I think that comes from their chemistry. I think that comes with his comfort with her. I think he's not necessarily generally an actor who finds that level of comfort at this age or prior to this. He wasn't finding that level of comfort. He was just kind of narrow-eyed and just kind of focused on what's in the script, and I need to do the next thing in the script very robotically. And with her, there's a looseness. It just feels like she's doing things that might not be in the script, and he's like following her because he's interested in where she's going.
Yeah, I've always found him to be kind of an awkward actor, but later in his career, he kind of embraced the awkwardness. This is like the least awkward thing he's ever done. Like this is the closest to like a full-blown action star, other than now the John Wick movies. But even then, it's still a Keanu Reeves. his persona plays a role in that John Wick. This is like a straight ahead action movie that I don't think he's done since or before, and it's just kind of weird because he's such a unique actor. It'd be like if Nick Cage played Con Air straight. I don't know. It's hard to. He doesn't. This is the most. It's not his best performance, obviously, but for me, it just. I like him the best in this because it's not. You lose a lot of the. And I suppose that's a bad thing, but what makes Keanu Reeves is not in this movie, and I think it's because Sandra Bullock pulls it out of him, but in a good way. In a good way, because sometimes that stuff. I mean, knock knock. Sometimes Keanu Reeves gets in his own way too, with the wrong director. And this, I don't know who the director is. Nobody.
Jan de Bont.
Okay.
He's done a lot of things. He did The Perfect Storm, I think.
Okay.
And action director, cinematographer. Before this was his first blockbuster, I think, his first big movie after being a cinematographer on other big movies.
Yeah, I've seen this movie more times than I care to admit. I had a poster the size of my wall on. I got it from the video store. I don't know. I loved this movie, and I'm glad it still holds up for what. I grew up with it, so maybe it doesn't hold up.
Yeah.
Maybe you're right. You don't show it to a younger person, but I am looking forward to showing my son because we have been watching old action movies lately, and he's been getting into all of them. So,
what it really that works so well in this is pacing. They found the right perfect pace because you don't have time to sit there while Joe Morton is going, record it. Now play it back. Like, you don't have time to think, how is he, what are you doing? How are you connected? No.
They're just making you believe.
He's making you believe. He's invested in it and you're just going.
Yeah. Even the cheesy, action lines, the pop quiz, hot shot, that kind of stuff. They just find a way to not, I don't know. It's not, it just finds that perfect lane.
Yeah, Dennis Hopper is such a silly persona to begin with that, I get it.
And this was my introduction to Dennis Hopper as a kid, so it was. I don't know. I love this movie. I really do. And
I got two canons on this movie in my head. For me, Speed 2 doesn't exist, never happened, not a real movie. The other one that I have is that Alan Ruck's character in Speed is Cameron from Ferris Bueller. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong.
What about the other canon? What was the movie that Sandra Bullock and Keanu Reeves did together later on?
The Lake House?
Yeah. It doesn't make any sense at all. But even in this movie, they take time to explain why he's not in Speed 2. Which I just find amazing in and of itself. Because...
Why wasn't he in Speed 2?
Well, he didn't want to do it, but they mentioned in the movie that relationships built on, I don't remember what the phrase is, never work out, and then sure enough, they don't work out because they're not in the sequel, and Jason Patric is.
Well, luckily that doesn't exist, though.
Right. All right, let's move on to the more popular action movie, but I still like Speed 2 better. Terminator 2 Judgment Day turns 30.
And really... What I came away with watching this again, because this movie means a lot to me from my childhood. I was 14 when this came out. Like, this is, prime stuff for me. Guns N' Roses, you could be mine. You should be just that song was my summer. This movie was my summer. This movie is my childhood. I can't watch it objectively because this movie made me feel what was possible in a movie. Like, I'd seen Jaws and I'd seen all these other. I'd seen Jurassic Park. I'd seen all those movies, right? And not Jurassic Park, whatever. Other blockbusters.
Yeah. But
I've seen other things. I've seen other major, incredible things. But this one, with what they do with the villain character and what they do with with Schwarzenegger, it's all the special effects and action is so incredible that it made me realize for the first time in my life, like this first semi-adult realization of that this is what movies can do. This is what's possible in a film. And I didn't realize that before this. I regarded movies but I didn't think about movies. And I thought about this movie because I thought, my God, there's nothing they can't do. And that's what this movie gave me in a way that I can't be objective about in many ways. But the other thing I took away from watching this is that this is really where the Terminator story should have ended. Like this renders further mercenary everything that comes after. Like I know it was all mercenary to begin with, but truly, like, this really exposes every other Terminator movie because it is so final. It ends in a way that doesn't leave anything open, and for them to continuously go back and try and recapture this is just this endless, soulless, cash chasing garbage. And there even things I might like about the other Terminator movies, I can't like anymore after watching this again, because I remember now that this was it. This is where that ended. Terminator doesn't exist after this.
Yeah, it's funny because I was 11 when this came out, and I was 15 when Speed came out. That's why I think Speed, in a lot of ways, is my Terminator 2. You know, because I was that perfect age. It was my movie, the first kind of adult movie that I saw in a theater. And then this one you can't. I didn't see it at 10. But I was aware of it. I mean, I knew the Guns N' Roses song. I knew all the lines, especially all 40 words that Schwarzenegger says in the movie or whatever. They became iconic, so you kind of seen it without seeing it. So by the time I finally got around to it, you know, all my friends are talking about it like it's the best thing ever, and I'm like, I don't get it. And because it wasn't mine, because it was your generation, you know, a couple years older than me that got it. And I watched it recently. I watched it, you know, this year with my son, and he didn't get it as much either. My favorite thing about it's "You Could Be Mine," and that's I don't think Eddie Furlong's good in it. I don't find it's not fun cheesy. It's not. I don't know. I can't. I
find the pacing to be very exciting. I find the action set pieces to be rather incredible and boldly violent for the period.
Yeah.
And you know, I was thinking about it when it comes to Cameron in this period before he turns into a complete asshole. is that while Spielberg and Lucas and those guys are looking backwards all the time with Raiders of the Lost Ark and even Star Wars, even though it's set in space, it's still a movie that is rooted in the past. Cameron was looking forward. Like, Cameron is making a movie in this moment. He is making a movie that is going into the future, while everybody else is still, you know, replaying the past. And that this movie is a flashpoint in history that brings a lot of other filmmakers forward, good and bad, because again, this is also part of that, you know, blockbuster thing where you know, it's a tentpole, it sets a new box office record, and that sends the wrong message to Hollywood to continue to try and tap these things over and over again. But for its moment, just in its moment, it was the possibility. It was somebody who was taking all the tools out of the box and using every single one of them: script, character, and special effects. And that to me makes this movie just that much more special.
No, and I get it. And I've always been like, action set pieces clearly don't mean anything to me, and I'm not a fan. Like, special effects don't, unless they really suck. I don't appreciate them the way other people do, and I'm not saying I'm better for that. To me, it's just like, okay, there's lasers. Or there's whatever. So that's why I'm not a big Star Wars. And then you grow up throwing the fact that I didn't, in the moment I wasn't watching it. So, you know, Star Wars, this, Indiana Jones, not that Indiana Jones and special effects, but I did some. But, you know, I wasn't part of the group that got to enjoy this for the first time. So there's no history with that for me. And then on the top of that, while I understand that, yes, this definitely changed things. Star Wars changed things. There's always that tentpole movie that changed things for good and bad. I I've always just been a less is more, and I don't know. I know Stallone has his bad movies, but Rocky was pretty simple. Rambo was pretty simple. They were very easier for me to appreciate without having to deal with the over the top future stuff that these movies called for. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. Clearly it works. Everybody loves this movie. There's not even a little bit of nostalgia with it for me other than You Could Be Mine, which when that pops on, I'm like, oh, this is okay. I'm back in. And
Such a great song.
Probably their best song in a lot of ways, because it wasn't overplayed like the other big three were. That's a hell of a song. I mean, I love that. That's definitely right up there.
Another note I have about this movie, and I think, and it goes to kind of a cynical place, but also to a place where just Cameron at this point is very smart. He's a very smart director. He still is, but he's also an asshole now. He's grown to that place where he can't be told anything anymore. He can be told stuff at this point. But he takes the Eddie Furlong character, right? And I know that the Eddie Furlong character is probably the weakest aspect of it, but at the same time, he took a kid and made him the center point of a blockbuster violent movie, and that is incredibly smart, because you can immediately he's not a great actor. You can be Eddie Furlong.
Yeah.
You can be this kid. And that is exciting. When you're that age, you're looking at that kid and you think, I could be him. That's exciting.
That makes sense, but in a lot of ways, he ruined his life. It's all Cameron's fault. I mean, it is. This isn't funny, the Eddie Furlong, but in a lot of ways, Cameron made the same movie over and over and over again. I mean, the story is very similar. You know, this one and even the first one, Rambo 2 follows a very similar storyline, and he wrote that one. Just very repetitive stories, but he's such a good visual filmmaker that. I mean, it is sleek. It is streamlined. It's like a great looking motorcycle in many ways. Like it's so sleek and so metallic, and it looks perfect in so many ways. And for that reason, he's earned the right to have his head up his ass. But like I always am going to go back to story and performance before anything else, and that's why I can never get in the Avatar movies. Story, I don't care how good it looks.
So dumb.
I enjoyed the first experience being there watching it, but I hated the story, and I don't know. I don't know. Anything else on Terminator 2? Go ahead.
The second I heard unobtainium, I was out. It was
that was the fourth wall
to me.
That was the heart muscle thing.
That is a turd in the wind. That is,
absolutely. I agree with you 100%. God, we should do a whole bonus episode about lines that took us out of the movie.
Yeah, I think,
there's been movies I like Paranormal Activity was a movie I was into, and then all of a sudden towards the end they start watching some exorcism thing on YouTube, and it just pulled me out of the movie all the way. Yeah, there's so many that just pops to my mind, but that's funny.
Yeah. I don't think I would like Venom even without that. But I didn't hate Venom, but I wasn't deeply invested in Venom. But that line, it's like, ugh, gross. Come on, man. No.
Yeah.
then you fail to recognize that the heart is just a muscle. And he's got two other lines in that movie like that. I
mean, that should almost be on the poster next to his face.
But you know what, though? You know what about we're turning to Schwarzenegger in this movie? Like, he is underestimated at how great he is at delivering these lines the way he does. He has a self-seriousness and a self-possession that is so strong, and a confidence to sell that stuff that he should look like a fool. You should cringe when he says "Hasta la vista, baby," but you don't. You don't cringe. You kind of smile a little bit, or you kind of like you're just with him. You're on his side when he does it, and it's because he's learned this from this kid, and it's instead of being this cringy line, it's his bond with this child, and what he's the way he's adapting humanity into himself as a learning cyborg. Like that's that's really cool. that is really cool.
And the other thing about it, you don't have to worry about it holding up or not holding up because it's become so ingrained in pop culture. My son knows the line, from other things, from whatever he's YouTube. I'm sure Minecraft's had something with it. It's just like us when we go back and watch these movies from the 30s, the Draculas and whatnot. All of a sudden, or any classic, and you hear the line for the first time that you've been hearing over and over again your whole life.
Yeah.
This movie is that on several different lines in this movie. That it's not cringe. Even 30 years later, there's no cringe value to it because of the iconic nature that it's reached. So, that in a lot of ways says a lot about the movie, too.
But I also say that within the movie, though, just establishing it the way they do within the film and the way he delivers it and adapts it into himself as part of this character, I think he's desperately underestimated as to how good he is in this movie. Oh,
I agree completely. But definitely in the time, I could see over if this wasn't as iconic 30 years down the line, people being more eye-rolling over it. But definitely as the movie, I agree. But it has reached that level of it's just one of those. It's still a tentpole movie, and it just was never mine. So, and maybe I just go out of my way to not like movies that aren't mine. I don't know. Yeah.
Josh is nodding his head. Hey, Josh, that's not why we hate. That's not why we hate Lord of the Rings.
He is no better.
True. Love you, Josh.
Let's go to I know neither one of us watched it. Problem Child 2 came out too.
I completely forgot.
Who gives a shit? Anyway, it is. So I know you mentioned you're watching a movie this week called Pig. Is that available next week or no?
I don't know when it's available. It's the new Nicolas Cage, and I have it, and I'm going to watch it soon.
When we do it on the show, we should do that other one we talked about, that Willy's Wonderland or Wally's, whatever that Wonderland movie was.
Yeah,
I heard he doesn't say a word in that movie.
I heard that too, and I was kind of like baffled by that.
And a friend of mine was like,
I've heard good things.
A friend of mine she sent me a message on Snapchat saying we need to create a Nicolas Cage movie club where we just once a month or once every 2 months watch a Nicolas Cage movie all the way, make sure we see everything in his catalog. And I was like, I would do that. I think I would be up for that challenge.
I'm doing that through Nathan Rabin in his podcast. He's doing the Travolta Cage podcast where he's watching a Travolta and a Cage movie, and he's all building up to writing a new book about each of them that I'm excited about.
I don't think Travolta it's just not the same with Travolta. Like, he's just bad or he's with a good director. There's no in between. Cage, you can just surprise you. Even like a bad Cage movie, you could be like, God, he was having fun. I enjoyed that movie. Anyway, that is our show. Next week, we've got Black Widow, How I Became a Superhero on Netflix, No Loss, No Gain. Our classic's going to be Ghost World. And in 1991, Boys in the Hood, Point Break, and Regarding Henry turned 30.
Point Break. Oh, man. It feels like we were just praising Keanu, and now we have to take a huge step backwards.
I mean, that's one of those movies people love for the wrong reasons, because it's so silly and dumb. But he's awkward in that movie.
So awkward.
And he was awkward after Speed, and then Matrix hit and became a huge star, and then he just, I don't know, he found a way to channel his awkwardness and really make it work. But, yeah, before we head on to Flickchart, I do want to tell you about our contest we are doing. If you give us 5 stars, you have a shot to win a couple Blu-rays. Are they both Asian horror movies? I know one is.
One's a horror movie. A kind of an action, violent movie, I guess,
right.
more than a horror movie. The other one's a World War II movie about the world's largest battleship.
Well, if you give us a 5-star review, and you'll have a chance, you'll win a copy of those. We'll read the review on the air. Check out our social media pages. CriticsPod is our handle. They're pinned at the top if you want more details, and then send us a message letting us know you did it so we can find it if it's not on Apple Podcasts. Otherwise, let's just jump over to Flickchart and see do that for a little bit and get out of here. Where is Safari, Share, and Flickchart? All right, Hot Fuzz, Final Destination 2.
Final Destination 2 for me. I just don't like Hot Fuzz. I don't know why that movie had to be 2.5 hours long not funny.
I'll go Hot Fuzz only because I don't like the Final Destination movies. I don't love either one of them. But you win. Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, Freddy's Revenge, The Day After Tomorrow.
Nightmare on Elm Street 2.
Agreed.
Day After Tomorrow is unwatchable.
Very much so. Thor, The Dark World, Child's Play.
Thor, The Dark World. The weakest Marvel movie is still better than Child's Play.
Yep. Blade Trinity, The Constant Gardener.
Constant Gardener. Blade Trinity was a big step down.
Very bad. Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Taken.
Roger Rabbit all the way. Absolute classic.
Absolutely. The Assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford, 3 Men and a Baby.
Jesse James.
Friday the 13th, Part 2, Bill and Ted, Part 2.
I could not care less. Which one do you like?
I don't like either one. Probably Bogus Journey.
Yeah,
Jason didn't have his
fine.
mask yet. Sherlock Holmes, Office Space.
Office Space.
Yes. Thor, The Dark World, The Day the Earth Stood Still in 1951.
I really love the 1951, The Day the Earth Stood Still. I really think people should see it.
Beavis and Butthead Do America, Delirious.
Beavis and Butthead.
Yes. Sunshine, Godzilla, 1998.
Sunshine. Godzilla was just impossible to sit through.
Yes. Scrooged, 7 pounds.
Scrooged.
Agreed.
7 pounds isn't bad.
I didn't like 7 pounds that much. The Big Short, Black Hawk Down.
Big Short. Black Hawk Down's good, though.
Yeah. It's more homework of the two, though. Green Lantern, Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Raiders of the Lost Ark.
The Book of Eli, The Rocketeer.
Book of Eli, I guess.
The Golden Compass, Live Free or Die Hard.
Golden Compass isn't a bad movie.
Die Hard.
Whereas Die Hard 4 is.
Yeah, that's really to me when I got lost in Die Hard movies is Part 4. The Punisher, How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days.
Which one do you find more punishing?
I've never seen either one of them.
They're both equally punishing, but I guess How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days has Kate Hudson to look at. So, I mean,
yeah,
give me that one.
I'm sure that one accomplished what it was trying to.
Yeah.
And The Punisher is a big miss. So let's learn, kids, where to put the bar. If you set it low enough, you'll hit what you want to. Injustice for All, 4 Rooms.
Injustice for All.
Yeah. First Blood, You've Got Mail.
First Blood.
Yeah.
That is the first one, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Then yes.
Inner Space, Reservoir Dogs.
Reservoir Dogs.
Analyze This, Babe.
Babe.
Just to piss Josh off, I'm going to flip it. Because I do like Analyze This, even though I know Babe's a better movie. And Babe wins. 127 hours, You Only Live Twice.
127 hours. Hell of a movie.
Fantastic. Sling Blade, Into the Wild.
Into the Wild.
I've never seen Sling Blade.
Really? I recommend it.
Well, someday, when we make it a classic, I'll have a chance to see it. It's hard to find time to watch movies outside of the podcast. The Manchurian Candidate, Hunger Games, Mockingjay, Part 2.
Hunger Games.
And that's the remake of The Manchurian Candidate. Beauty and the Beast, 2017, Wanted.
Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah, it was kind of neat. I don't hate Wanted. I don't love it either, but
Yeah, I don't really care.
it's fair. Dark Man, The Silence of the Lambs.
Silence of the Lambs.
Fight Club, The Truman Show.
Fight Club.
Agreed. Mouse Hunt, Dog Day Afternoon.
Dog Day Afternoon. It was just such a weird... Yeah.
Dunkirk Once. Absolutely. The Men Who Stare at Goats, Jack.
Men Who Stare at Goats.
Yes.
Jack is a just unwatchable piece of crap.
10 Cloverfield Lane or Psycho. It was like Hitchcock.
Psycho.
Absolutely. Rango, Along Came a Spider.
Rango.
Great movie. Miami Vice, Spy Game.
Spy Game for me.
I'll go with you. I don't really care. An American Tail. Eyes Wide Shut.
I apologize to our podcast listeners, but you can't see what we can see right now.
It's An American Tail, Eyes Wide Shut, which really An American Tail should have a colon next to it with Eyes Wide Shut as the subtitle. I mean,
you're seeing what I'm seeing, right? I'm not crazy.
Oh, Jesus. I didn't even look at the posters. I just looked at the titles.
It's a Magic Eye poster.
Yes, it is. Wow.
I think there's an eye, but it looks like a vagina. I'm pretty sure that's the intention.
Yes.
Woo, that's Eyes Wide Shut, by the way.
Agreed.
That is a striking poster, though. I've never seen that poster for that movie.
I have not either. I just love the idea of An American Tail and Eyes Wide Shut together. Matchstick Men, Fast and the Furious, Tokyo Drift.
Tokyo Drift.
I don't give a shit. I'll flip it anyway, because you win every time anyway.
The only person who loves Tokyo Drift.
Barton Fink Twins.
A Barton Fink. I didn't need to think about that.
Agreed. Hugo, Super Mario Brothers.
Hugo.
Hitman, Attack the Block.
Attack the Block.
Yes. Glorious Bastards, Pulp Fiction.
Wow, it's Pulp Fiction, but they're both amazing.
Yeah. Barton Fink, AI.
Barton Fink.
Agreed. Ninja Turtles, 8mm. 1990 Ninja Turtles.
Ninja Turtles.
I agreed. Amazing Spider-Man 2, Save the Last Dance.
Save the Last Dance.
Thought we were going to be flipping for that one.
I don't mind the Spider-Man movie. Save the Last Dance is a really good film. And I love Julia Stiles.
Yeah. It's a Wonderful Life, Vanilla Sky.
I know a lot of people are going to hate me for this. I'm taking Vanilla Sky.
Jesus fucking Christ. Vanilla Sky wins. I took It's a Wonderful Life, though. But the coin does not like me. Cocktail, My Best Friend's Wedding.
I could go either way. What do you think?
Again, it's back to the bar, and My Best Friend's Wedding set the bar lower and accomplished what they were going for. Cocktail did not accomplish it at all. I don't like the movie, don't get me wrong, but
right.
Spy Game, The Substitute.
Never seen The Substitute, 1961.
Neither have I. Spy Game, Parasite.
Parasite.
Yeah. Madeline, 1998. Atonement.
Atonement.
Agreed. Serendipity, That Thing You Do.
That Thing You Do. Sorry, Josh.
I'm not sorry, absolutely. This is a tough one. Young Guns or Broken Arrow?
Broken Arrow.
This is the closest Travolta came to being Nicolas Cage, I think.
Right.
Moonraker, 12 Monkeys.
12 Monkeys.
Some Like It Hot, The Da Vinci Code.
Some Like It Hot.
Yes. Rambo Part 2, Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th.
Oh, fuck you. Finally,
I can't
win
stand
one.
Part 2.
Go back and
I
watch
can't stand any of the Rambo sequels. I just can't stand
Rambo 2 was a ton of fun, and I know you didn't watch it when you turned 30, and it's promising you're misremembering it. It is way more fun. It is the only good one outside of the first one. The Change-Up, Sparrows.
I've not seen Sparrows.
Neither have I. Robin Hood Men in Tights, The Change-Up.
Robin Hood.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but I'll go with you. I mean, The Change-Up is Bateman and Reynolds, but it should be more
it's
memorable.
Funny.
But it should, with those two, it should be more memorable than it is. Fletch, Land of the Dead.
Which one is Land of the Dead? Because I'm not sure. Is that one of the weird sequels, or is
I think that's the fourth Romero movie of the night?
I don't know if I don't actually have much of a memory of it.
Okay, neither do I. Halloween 2, Fletch.
They're both insufferable in different ways. Which one do you like?
Probably Halloween 2. Hence
Yeah, that's
the
fine.
mask behind me. Not that I mean I don't hate either one of them like you do. I don't. Chevy Chase's reputation hurts Fletch a little bit, but Spectre, Mouse Hunt.
Spectre.
Big Mama's House, Spider-Man Homecoming.
Spider-Man.
Yes. Catwoman, The Omen.
The Omen.
Agreed. District 9, A Walk to Remember.
Fuck, come on. Fine, District 9.
You just don't like to watch Mandy Moore die. Zombieland, Never Say Never Again.
She had pretty cancer. Zombieland.
Was that the first Pretty Cancer movie, or I'm sure there was some before it.
It was up there, yeah.
It was our generation's Pretty Cancer movie. Quantum of Solace, Sway.
I've not seen Sway.
Neither have I. Quantum of Solace or Casper.
This is a conspiracy to make me choose James Bond movies that I hate.
Yeah, we've picked way too many Bond movies this episode. That never happens.
I know. I hate it. It's making me mad.
Run, Girl, Run, 1928. Never seen
Never.
it? All right.
Nah.
Rocky 4, Wag the Dog.
Wag the Dog.
Yeah, that's hard because Wag the Dog is definitely a better movie. Dustin Hoffman.
But Rocky 4 is Rocky 4. I get it. And I really hate Dustin Hoffman. So I'm on the edge here of picking Rocky 4. So if you want to take it that direction.
I'll flip it just in case. I mean, I won't be hurt if Wag the Dog wins because I love that movie. And in a lot of ways, they do get to kill Dustin Hoffman at the end. And it does win. So I guess I can go with Wag the Dog. It really takes everything you hate about Dustin Hoffman, wraps him into that character, and then throws him away. So
yeah.
I can have, this is a fucked up one.
I'm so mad right now.
The Graduate or Pay It Forward.
The Graduate. I mean, a blank screen for the same amount of time is better than Pay It Forward.
Halle Berry flashing John Travolta or The Day After Tomorrow.
Swordfish.
Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Evolution.
Who Framed Roger Rabbit? I do have a soft spot for Evolution.
Yeah, Minority Report, When Harry Met Sally.
Minority Report.
I haven't seen it, so I'll just go with you. Date Night, Freddy's Revenge.
Freddy's Revenge.
Okay.
I like Date Night, but I mean, Freddy's Revenge is memorable.
I don't have a memory of either one of them, but that's okay. I was like 4 years younger, and those are a magical 4 years. A lot happens in those in that time. Legend of Tarzan, The Imitation Game.
Imitation Game. They're both bad movies, though.
Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom, Conan the Barbarian.
Jurassic World.
Agreed. The Mascot, 1934. All
Yeah.
right. Miss Congeniality, The Brothers Bloom.
Miss Congeniality because it's shorter and easier to watch.
And she was so good in Speed today. So
She's got positive vibes coming from that
right now. Yeah.
If it were Miss Congeniality 2, it'd be a whole different story. She's already spent all her cred by then.
Yeah. Can't Hardly Wait, Pet Cemetery.
Can't Hardly Wait.
Doesn't get much worse than Pet Cemetery. Casino, Sky High.
That's tough.
It's really, I mean, it's sky high for me, if I'm being totally honest. That is
I'm kind of with you because, I mean, Casino is the least of Scorsese and it's homeworky, and Sky High is not.
I mean, Sky High was probably the last movie I watched all the time. Like, there's no reason for me as an adult at that point watching this movie like every day.
Take it.
All right. Apollo 13, The Kingdom.
Apollo 13.
Agreed.
The Kingdom is another one of those failures, you know, where people are taking on the Iraq War, but they have no balls. Like nobody has the nerve to say anything bad about it. It's just got to be. They take the easy way out, you know, just say what the soldiers are great, and then there are bad people, and there might be bad people in our government. Maybe it's like just such wishy-washy bullshit.
The Kingsman, Secret Service, Conan the Barbarian.
The Kingsman.
Okay. Captain America, The First Avenger, A Cat in the Brain. That looks phenomenal.
Next week's classic, A Cat in the Brain.
If we can find that, we really should watch it.
I want to see it now. It's so bad. I don't know what it is, but it's so weird.
Yeah.
For those listening, it's a guy and a cat, and their faces are just put together inside of the moon. It's half of his face and half of a cat's face.
Yeah. While you guys are here watching me type, before we let you go, we're going to see if this is available to watch.
A Cat in the Brain. 1990. What are you? Cat in the Brain.
Only on Blu-ray. It doesn't seem
it's Fulci.
Oh.
It's a Lucio Fulci movie.
All right.
2 Blu-rays and 1 CD. What the hell?
Yeah, let's see if we can find it on YouTube or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, hopefully we can add it to next week's show. All right, that's our show. It's a good way to go out.
Yeah. We picked First Avenger, by the way.
Oh, I don't know if I picked anything. I just moved on, turned it off. All right, talk to you guys next week. Bye.